Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for some Chelsea news. We've got 5 stories to go through today. First things first, it is now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Link to that in the description. If you don't want to watch an hour-long YouTube video, I totally understand. The graphics look quite nice. I did a load of different things with it. It looks good, but if you want to go and check out the audio only, link down below, and if you could be so kind as to leave a rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify, then maybe it can help me rise up the rankings a little bit. But we've got 5 stories today. We're going to talk about 2 Barcelona youngsters. We're going to talk about our youngster, Armando Broja, and we're also going to talk about a Premier League left-back who I personally absolutely love, and supposedly Chelsea do too. But we are going to begin by talking about the 2 Barcelona players. There is a 17-year-old wonder kid at Barcelona now. He goes by the name of Gavi, just one letter short of being Xavi. Funnily enough, he's 17 years of age, his name's Gavi, and his contract runs out in 2023, and Chelsea are one of the clubs reportedly interested. When a player comes up through the academies in Barcelona, usually, through history, you would expect a player of this kind of nature, who a lot of people are saying is going to become one of Europe's best midfielders over the course of the next 5-10 years. Gavi has got a lot of people giving him a lot of plaudits moving forward as he gets older in his career. He's also played, I think, 27 times this season for Barcelona, so it's not like he's just a player for the future. This kid is already playing for one of the biggest clubs at 17 years old. But will he sign that new contract? If you listened to the podcast yesterday, Matisse and I were talking about Chelsea, Kante, Jorginho contracts expiring in 2023. So with both of those players, I'm not entirely sure how likely either of them will be to sign a new deal. But if they do, we know that Chelsea only offer players over the age of 30 one-year deals. 2, in some cases we offer 2, but it's very, very rare. So could this mean that Chelsea will probably, over the course of the next few years, Chelsea are going to be looking at signing young midfielders? It would go with the mould of what we're trying to do with the squad. Kante, Jorginho, they are players who are going to be incredibly difficult to replace, not just with their quality, but with leadership and everything else. But Chelsea, at some point or another, are going to need to revamp this midfield. So when I see us linked to players like Gavi, I think, well, if he's not going to sign that new deal at Barcelona, which nowadays, signing a new contract at Barcelona isn't quite as pinnacle of a player's career as it once was, because they are not the same team they used to be. Obviously, it's still an incredibly attractive prospect for any player across the world to play for Barcelona. But will Gavi extend, or will he see the interest from Liverpool, Chelsea, and be like, you know what? This could be the time, very, very early in my career, to make a bold statement, go to what is undoubtedly the strongest league in the world, and become a world-beating central midfielder. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, but I would love to see Chelsea go in for Gavi in the future. The second story, this guy's name, I always butcher it. It's a Uruguayan defender, Ronald Araujo. I don't know how to say his name, if I'm completely honest, and because of the nature of how I do these videos, I should have researched it before, but I bloody well didn't, did I? So we're also interested in Araujo as well, who is a Barcelona centre-back. Chelsea supposedly have a very strong offer already on the table. With all of the talks we've done about centre-backs, about contracts, about who's going to sign, who's not going to sign, again, Araujo I keep changing the name every time I say it, I'm sorry. I'm going to call him Ronald bloody Weasley. He is a very, very decent defender. He's played a lot for Barcelona this season already, and anybody that we're linked to in that centre-back position at the moment, we can feasibly look at whatever interest it is from Chelsea and be like, well, we're going to need to sign 1, we're going to need to sign 2. Jules Koundé is looking progressively more likely, but I do think there could be 2 centre-backs coming through the door this summer. Let me know your preferences on those in the comments down below. Now we're going to sandwich the next story with 2 other players who Chelsea might well be looking to buy, but we are going to start talking about Armando Broja. We spoke about Broja in the podcast yesterday, basically universally agreeing that we do not want Chelsea to sell Armando Broja this summer. He's having a wonderful season at Southampton. What I love about Broja, that I didn't say in the podcast, is that he has this element of Diego Costa about him. And it isn't the fact that we've seen him really getting under the skin of defenders, but what I really like about Broja is he's not frightened to run through players. You know, he can dribble, he's very skillful, his feet are very quick, he's good with the ball at both feet, transition it to actually shock the defender or surprise the defender to then burst past him with strength and pace. He's very, very good at these things, which also Diego Costa was too. He kind of looks like just a bundle of energy just going through players, which is something that we have not seen Chelsea strikers really do. Lukaku's not really been able to do that so far, and I think the word I would use to describe Broja, which kind of goes against the physical stature of how he looks, is nimble. I think he's a very nimble striker for somebody his size. Arsenal, Dortmund, Bayern Munich, amongst the hosts of other top European clubs, want to sign Armando Broja this summer. For me, this has got to be a no. He signed a 5-year contract just before he went on loan to Southampton. That tells me that Chelsea, even before this brilliant Premier League form, Chelsea saw Broja as part of their future. Thomas Tuchel has had a lot of good things to say also. With the current form and trajectory of how Broja's season is going, to me, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that at bare minimum, Broja will be given a pre-season at Chelsea next year to really show that he can adapt to the style that Tuchel wants to play with the tactics and formations that we have. And I think he could absolutely make it in this Chelsea squad. Now, there's also the flip side of the coin where you look at some of the teams involved, and if it's going to be Arsenal, then we've got to be willing to charge an absolute fortune to Arsenal for them to bring one of our strikers at the club. Matisse made a good point on the pod yesterday, also saying that if we were to sell Broja in this upcoming summer, which, just for the record, I don't want us to do, it would have to be something that involves a buyback clause. And I don't see Arsenal coming to Chelsea, paying a premium, and also having a buyback clause that Chelsea can activate at any given moment. That is not how a team like Arsenal would want to compete with players' transfers with Chelsea. It's not going to happen. But a team like Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, I do think Broja is the kind of geezer who will take a look at his career and think, well, as long as I'm playing football, that's all that matters. With £100 million man, Lukaku, as the first choice at Chelsea, then I can certainly see Broja looking at it and thinking, well, I think maybe it's best to go. If I'm already playing at this kind of high level, then what is to say that staying at Chelsea is not going to be the worst for my development and progression as a striker. I don't want Broja to go, but he's being linked with a host of big clubs. We move into story number 4, and it is Youri Tielemans. He will not be extending his contract at Leicester City. Youri Tielemans, Chelsea fans know this guy very well, scored a wonder goal against Kepa in the FA Cup final, and he's a very, very good player. I wouldn't necessarily say that this season he's been at his best, but I think overall Leicester have been a shadow of themselves that we're used to in recent Premier League seasons. Tielemans is not going to extend his contract, and he's being told to snub interest from clubs like Manchester United, Arsenal, to hold out for a move to Chelsea. And again, repeating what I said earlier when we talk about Gavi, Chelsea will be linked with central midfielders very, very heavily. We've got the Declan Rice rumours, we've got the Tchouaméni rumours. Those are the two concrete ones that we all know about, that we're all talking about. But Youri Tielemans, if it's now looking like he's confirming he's not going to sign a new deal at Leicester, it does make the price of his availability this summer a little bit better, because Leicester will not want to see him go for free. And unfortunately, no disrespect to Leicester, but I don't think they're a club who have that kind of power to make a player like Tielemans change his mind during that last year of his contract. So this summer, there's going to be a lot of clubs involved for Tielemans. I think if Chelsea are going to be interested and involved, then it depends on outgoings. Saul's not going to have his loan extended. Ruben's probably going to go. Barkley's probably going to go. Maybe one of Jorginho and Kante too. We don't know yet, but Youri Tielemans, Premier League proven player, can score amazing goals, is brilliant on the ball, great in tight spaces. I think it could be a good option for Chelsea to explore. The final story of the day, don't want to take up too much more of your time, Cucurella, the Brighton left back who always has a good game against us. Sorry for the abrupt change of camera and audio and everything else, but the battery just died and all of the other ones are also dead. Cucurella is another player that Chelsea are interested in this summer. Chelsea see Cucurella as a brilliant backup for Ben Chilwell. It's also interesting to see that Chelsea were interested in Cucurella before we even signed Ben Chilwell. Now, the thing about Cucurella that I like, 30 million is the price that's being reported by Brighton for the player. I think that is actually a very, very good price for a player who has been very good in the Premier League this season. I certainly see him as an upgrade to Marcus Alonso, both in a defensive sense and with no longer having that stress of worrying if our defender is going to be quick enough to actually get forward and get back in a system where the wing-backs are so heavily involved in what Chelsea do. Cucurella, I think, would be a brilliant signing. I think he's a great player. He's a tenacious defender. He's very good going forward, but he's also very measured, very smart with the way that he makes his runs, the way that he controls his passes, and he also cuts inside as well, very well indeed. So 30 million, it is one of those stories where I think a lot will depend on how many players leave Chelsea this summer. Will we see permanent exits for the likes of Emerson, maybe Alonso as well? If this happens, Ian Maatsen is at Coventry. He's having a very, very good season, one of the top-rated defenders in the Championship right now. Chelsea might look at Maatsen and think, maybe we take a gamble if we have to prioritise signing in other positions, such as replacing centre-backs, such as central midfielders, maybe attackers, we don't know yet. But I think Cucurella is a brilliant option. And I think for Chelsea to be linked with a player of that quality as a backup to Ben Chilwell makes me very happy indeed. But anyway, not going to take up much more of your time because I would love for you to go and listen to yesterday's podcast, be it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'll leave a link to all of the audio versions in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's Chelsea FC news stories, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.